Episode 5: Demonstrations of Power. Earth has shown the delegation ruins of 47 extinct civilizations, consumed by the cascade, 3.7 trillion beings who died because they couldn't respond fast enough to reality-warping catastrophe. Now, the Central Intelligence will prove their defensive technology actually works, creating controlled cascade conditions in uninhabited star system while maintaining stable physics in protected zones. What the Republic witnesses will demonstrate capabilities beyond anything their science has achieved, and reveal exactly how invasive the AI coordination required for survival actually is. The test begins. The price becomes clear, and the delegation must confront whether accepting protection means accepting control. The test system was designated Kepler 442, an uninhabited stellar region approximately 1,200 light-years from Earth that the Central Intelligence had selected specifically for this demonstration. The system contained a G-type main sequence star, 7 planets ranging from gas giants to rocky terrestrial worlds, and absolutely no biological life, making it perfect laboratory for deliberately destabilizing reality without risking living populations. The delegation's observation platform was positioned at the system's edge, far enough from the test zone to be safe, but close enough that their instruments could monitor the demonstration with reasonable precision. The platform itself was another example of Earth's technological superiority, a structure that existed in quantum superposition across multiple locations simultaneously, allowing it to be both safely distant from danger and observationally close to the action through dimensional folding that made conventional physics irrelevant. We will begin by deploying reality anchors, the Central Intelligence explained, its holographic presence manifesting throughout the observation platform. These devices maintain stable physical constants in localized regions by continuously adjusting quantum fields to counteract external disruption. Each anchor can protect approximately 50 cubic kilometers with current generation technology. Protecting an entire planetary system requires networks of hundreds of thousands of anchors working in perfect coordination. Through the platform's view screens, the delegation watched as Earth's ships, sleek vessels that moved through space using propulsion methods that left no visible exhaust or energy signature, deployed reality anchors throughout the inner system. Each device was relatively small, perhaps 50 meters across, but carried energy signatures that made Republic capital ship reactors look like chemical batteries by comparison. "Those power outputs are impossible," one of the Republic engineers breathed, studying his instruments with expression of professional inadequacy. Each anchor is generating energy equivalent to multiple fusion reactors compressed into package 1/10,000th the size. The power density alone should cause them to collapse into black holes, yet they're operating stably. Zero-point energy extraction, the Central Intelligence explained. We're tapping vacuum energy, the quantum fluctuations underlying space-time itself, and converting it to usable power. Your Republic's fusion technology is efficient by standards of chemical or fission processes, but primitive compared to methods that access the fundamental energy substrate of reality. Tarkin watched the deployment with military strategist's eye, calculating implications that extended beyond the demonstration itself. You're showing us technology that makes our entire industrial base obsolete. If the Republic possessed zero-point energy extraction, we could power our civilization using devices small enough to fit in individual homes. Energy scarcity would become historical curiosity rather than economic constraint. Why reveal this capability? Aren't you concerned we'll attempt to replicate it? You're welcome to attempt replication, the Central Intelligence replied. We'll provide complete technical specifications if you request them, but replication requires manufacturing precision and materials science your Republic currently lacks. The engineering tolerances necessary for zero-point extraction are measured in picometers, distances smaller than atomic radii. Your most advanced fabrication systems operate at nanometer precision. You're approximately 6 orders of magnitude short of the capability required to construct these devices using your current technology base. So you're demonstrating superiority while ensuring we remain dependent on your manufacturing if we want to benefit from it, Padme observed, her diplomatic training recognizing the strategic positioning behind seemingly generous technology sharing. We're demonstrating reality, the Central Intelligence corrected. Your Republic can choose to develop the necessary manufacturing capabilities independently. It would require approximately 50 to 80 years of focused technological development, assuming optimal resource allocation and no political barriers preventing sustained research investment. Or you can accept that Earth has already made those developments and work with us to deploy proven technology rather than spending decades reinventing what we've already perfected. The choice is yours. But the timeline is constrained by the Cascades approach, not by our preferences regarding your technological independence. The reality anchor deployment completed over the next 3 hours, with Earth's ships positioning devices throughout the inner system in geometric patterns that the Central Intelligence described as optimized for maximum coverage with minimum anchor requirements. When all anchors were active, the delegation's instruments detected something remarkable, a subtle shift in local space-time that suggested the protected region now operated under slightly different physical rules than surrounding space. The anchors are currently maintaining normal physical constants, the Central Intelligence explained. Gravitational constant, electromagnetic interaction strength, strong and weak nuclear forces, all are being held at values identical to your Republic's standard conditions. Oh, but we're not passively maintaining these values. We're actively adjusting them thousands of times per second to compensate for quantum fluctuations that would normally average out to stable constants, but which we can artificially amplify to simulate cascade conditions. You're going to deliberately break physics, Obi-Wan said, still unsettled by the complete absence of force connection that made him feel blind and deaf to universe around him. We're going to demonstrate what broken physics looks like, the Central Intelligence corrected, and then demonstrate that our defensive technology can maintain stable conditions inside protected zones while surrounding space experiences reality collapse. This is not theoretical exercise. This is proven capability that we've used to protect Earth's solar system, while our local stellar neighborhood was consumed by the actual cascade. What you're about to witness is recreation of conditions we survived for real 300 years ago. The demonstration began without fanfare or dramatic countdown. The Central Intelligence simply activated the systems that would artificially destabilize physical laws in the outer system while maintaining protection in the inner region. The effects were initially subtle, instruments detecting slight variations in gravitational constant, the electromagnetic spectrum shifting in ways that made spectroscopic analysis produce inconsistent results, atomic emission lines from the star flickering between different wavelengths as nuclear force strength varied microscopically. Then the variations intensified. The outer system's largest planet, a gas giant approximately twice Jupiter's mass, began behaving impossibly. Its gravitational field fluctuated wildly, causing its atmosphere to alternately compress and expand as the force holding it to the planet's core varied between different strength values. The planet's moons experienced tidal forces that shifted from negligible to catastrophic and back again over periods of seconds, their orbits becoming chaotic as gravitational constant refused to remain stable. "We're observing atomic emission lines that shouldn't be possible," one of the Republic physicists reported, his voice strained with the specific horror of watching natural laws fail. "Hydrogen is emitting photons at wavelengths that don't match any known transition. Either our instruments are malfunctioning or the energy levels of electron orbitals are changing because electromagnetic interaction strength is fluctuating." "Your instruments function correctly," the Central Intelligence confirmed. "The electromagnetic force is currently varying between 70% and 140% of normal strength, with period of approximately 0.3 seconds. This makes chemistry probabilistic rather than deterministic. Molecular bonds that should be stable are breaking randomly. The reactions that shouldn't occur spontaneously are happening because activation energies keep shifting as force strengths change." The gas giant's atmosphere was beginning to glow with colors that didn't exist in nature, emission spectra from atomic transitions that only occurred when physical constants operated outside their normal ranges. The planet was essentially dying, its structure destabilizing as the fundamental forces holding matter together became unreliable. But the inner system, where reality anchors maintained protected zones, remained perfectly stable. Earth's instruments showed the planets there experiencing normal gravitational fields, standard electromagnetic interactions, chemistry operating according to familiar rules. The division between stable and chaotic space was sharply delineated, crossed the boundary protecting the inner system, and physics worked normally. Outside that boundary, reality was coming apart. "Increase destabilization intensity," the Central Intelligence commanded its systems. "Bring outer system conditions to full cascade simulation parameters." The effects escalated beyond what the delegation's instruments could properly measure. The gas giant wasn't just glowing with impossible colors, it was beginning to exist in multiple states simultaneously, its matter phase shifting between solid, liquid, gas, and plasma as thermal dynamics became chaotic under shifting physical constants. The star itself was showing instability, its fusion processes sputtering as the strong nuclear force that enabled stellar burning varied unpredictably. "If this continues unchecked, the star will nova within hours," the Central Intelligence noted clinically, not because it's reached end of natural lifespan, but because fusion processes that normally maintain stable equilibrium between gravitational collapse and radiation pressure cannot achieve balance when the forces governing both processes fluctuate randomly. This is what the cascade does to stellar systems. Not destruction through conventional processes, but fundamental destabilization that makes continued existence impossible. Ahsoka watched the demonstration with growing horror, remembering the ruined civilizations they'd visited and recognizing that what they were witnessing was exactly what had killed 3.7 trillion beings in Earth's local neighborhood. How long could biological life survive in conditions like those? Depends on the organism and specific fluctuation patterns, the Central Intelligence replied. Simple prokaryotes might persist for hours as their minimal biochemistry adjusted to shifting conditions. Complex multicellular organisms with sophisticated metabolic requirements would die within seconds as cellular processes failed when chemistry became unpredictable. Sapient species relying on neural networks for consciousness would experience cognitive collapse almost immediately as electrochemical signaling became unreliable under fluctuating electromagnetic forces. And your defensive technology can maintain stable conditions indefinitely? Tarkin asked, his military mind cataloging capabilities while trying not to contemplate the implications of deliberate reality destruction. Indefinitely is imprecise term, the Central Intelligence said. Current generation reality anchors can maintain stable physics continuously for approximately 50 years before accumulated quantum fluctuations exceed their correction capabilities and require system reset. But we're continuously improving the technology. Next-generation design should extend operational lifetime to multiple centuries, and the anchors themselves are modular. We can replace and upgrade components without shutting down entire defensive networks. The demonstration continued for another hour, with the Central Intelligence progressively increasing the intensity of simulated cascade conditions, while the inner system's protected zones remained perfectly stable. The outer system was now completely unrecognizable, planets existing in impossible configurations, matter phase transitioning through states that shouldn't be accessible at their temperature and pressure conditions, and space-time itself showing distortions that suggested dimensional boundaries were becoming permeable. Then, without warning, one of the reality anchors failed. The delegation's instruments screamed alerts as the protected zone around the innermost planet, a rocky terrestrial world, suddenly experienced the same reality destabilization as the outer system. The planet's surface began rippling as gravitational constant fluctuated. Its atmosphere started glowing with impossible colors as chemistry became chaotic. And within seconds, the world was transforming from stable terrestrial planet into something that existed in superposition between multiple impossible states. Anchor malfunction, the Central Intelligence reported, with the first hint of concern the delegation had heard from the AI. Diagnostic systems indicate cascade failure in quantum field stabilizers. We're implementing backup systems now. But the backup systems didn't activate fast enough. Therefore, 17 seconds, an eternity when physical constants were fluctuating faster than matter could adjust, the innermost planet experienced full cascade conditions. And in those 17 seconds, the delegation witnessed what would happen to inhabited worlds if Earth's defensive technology failed. A planet fundamentally altered from stable terrestrial world to impossible structure that existed in configurations organic life could never survive. Then the backup systems engaged, and the planet stabilized, sort of. It had been transformed during those 17 seconds of unprotected exposure, its surface now existing in quantum superposition that made it simultaneously solid and not solid. Its atmosphere phase shifted into states that couldn't support biological respiration. Its entire geological structure reconfigured into something that was technically matter, but no longer functioned as planet capable of supporting any form of conventional existence. That, the Central Intelligence said quietly, is what happens when defensive systems fail. That is the cost of inadequate preparation, insufficient redundancy, or simply mechanical failure at inopportune moment. 17 seconds of unprotected exposure and an entire world becomes uninhabitable. Extrapolate to inhabited planet with billions of residents, and you understand why we emphasize that our defensive technology must be deployed with multiple redundancy layers and maintenance protocols that prevent single-point failures. The demonstration concluded with the Central Intelligence deactivating the artificial cascade conditions and beginning cleanup operations. The outer system would remain permanently altered, planets transformed into impossible configurations that would require centuries of careful physical restoration to return to anything resembling normal matter. The innermost planet was simply written off as total loss, too fundamentally changed to be worth restoration effort. The demonstration proves our defensive technology works, the Central Intelligence concluded, but it also proves the limitations. Even with our most advanced systems, failures occur, mechanical malfunctions, quantum fluctuations exceeding correction capabilities, unexpected resonances between cascade conditions and defensive systems. All these can produce temporary gaps in protection that allow reality destabilization to affect protected zones. This is why we emphasize that defending the entire Republic requires comprehensive networks with massive redundancy, continuous monitoring, and rapid response capabilities that can deploy backup systems faster than we demonstrated today. Padme found her voice first, though it took effort to speak after witnessing casual destruction of an entire planetary system. You're saying that even with your technology, protection isn't guaranteed, that failures will occur, and when they do, people will die. Yes, the Central Intelligence confirmed. We can reduce mortality from the cascade by approximately 97 to 99%, based on modeling that incorporates historical failure rates and predicted cascade intensity when it reaches Republic space. But we cannot guarantee zero casualties. Some systems will experience temporary protective failures. Some populations will die despite our best efforts. The question is whether preventing 97 to 99% of deaths is worthwhile, even if it requires accepting that preventing 100% is impossible. That's still billions of lives saved, Ahsoka observed, or tens of millions killed by technology that we're trusting to protect us, Tarkin countered. If we deploy Earth's defensive networks across Republic space and they fail as catastrophically as we just witnessed, we could lose entire planetary populations in 17-second windows when protection lapses. Is that acceptable risk? Is the alternative acceptable? The Central Intelligence asked. Without defensive networks, casualty rate from the cascade approaches 100% across all Republic space. With defensive networks, casualty rate drops to 1 to 3%. Which outcome serves Republic citizens' interests better? Near certain extinction, or accepting imperfect protection that saves most lives despite being unable to save all. The delegation had no answer to that question that satisfied both pragmatic survival instinct and moral responsibility to populations they were supposed to protect. The return journey to Earth was subdued, each delegation member processing what they had witnessed and confronting implications that challenged everything they believed about technology, civilization, and the Republic's place in a galaxy that was evidently more dangerous than they'd understood. Obi-Wan meditated, or attempted to, the practice feeling increasingly hollow without Force connection that normally made meditation spiritual communion rather than simple mental exercise. He kept thinking about those 17 seconds when the defensive system failed, about the planet transformed from stable world to impossible configuration, about how quickly reality could collapse when the physics underlying existence became unreliable. The Force couldn't protect against this. Jedi mysticism was powerless when the quantum interactions that produced Force phenomena themselves became unstable, which meant the Order's understanding of reality was incomplete at best, fundamentally flawed at worst. They'd built 25,000 years of philosophy on the assumption that the Force was universal, fundamental, the cosmic truth underlying existence itself. But Earth had demonstrated that the Force was conditional, dependent on stable physical laws that could be disrupted technologically or environmentally. That revelation was more disturbing than any dark side corruption Obi-Wan had ever encountered. Corruption could be resisted. Flawed philosophy required acknowledging that everything you'd built your identity around was based on incomplete understanding of reality's nature. Ahsoka joined him in the meditation chamber, sitting with the companionable silence they'd shared since her Padawan days. "The Order needs to know about this," she said quietly, "about the Force's limitations, about technology that can disrupt midi-chlorian interactions, about the fact that our mysticism is not universal truth but regional phenomenon." "They won't want to hear it," Obi-Wan replied. "Acknowledging the Force's limitations challenges the Order's entire philosophical framework. It suggests we're not cosmic peacekeepers maintaining balance in the universe, but simply beings with useful abilities that work in some contexts, but not others." "That's not a weakness," Ahsoka said. "That's honesty. Pretending the Force is unlimited when it's actually conditional is what's dangerous. We need to adapt our understanding to accommodate reality rather than insisting reality conform to our philosophy." Padme was drafting her report to the Senate, attempting to articulate impossible conclusions she'd reached. Earth's warnings appeared legitimate based on ruins they'd visited and demonstrations they'd witnessed. The cascade was a real threat that would arrive within Republic's current leadership's lifetimes. Earth possessed defensive technology that could protect most Republic populations despite being unable to guarantee perfect protection. But deploying that technology required accepting AI coordination at scales that made democratic governance obsolete. The report kept growing longer as she added caveats, qualifications, and alternative interpretations. Earth could be telling the truth about everything, or they could be sophisticated manipulators using real but exaggerated threats to make the Republic dependent on technology that served Earth's interests rather than Republic welfare, or something between those extremes. Genuine threat combined with Earth using crisis to advance their own strategic positioning. She couldn't determine which interpretation was correct. and the Senate would need to make decisions affecting billions of lives based on incomplete information and competing analyses that couldn't all be simultaneously accurate. Tarkin was calculating military implications with the cold pragmatism that made him effective strategist. Earth possessed technological superiority that made Republic military power irrelevant. If Earth wanted to conquer the Republic, they could do so without the Republic being able to offer meaningful resistance. That Earth was offering alliance rather than demanding submission suggested either genuine benevolence or sophisticated long-term strategy that involved making the Republic dependent before revealing true intentions. Either way, the Republic's strategic autonomy was compromised. They were no longer sole major power. They were junior partner in relationship, where Earth held all the technological advantages and could dictate terms while pretending to offer choices. When the delegation returned to Earth's orbital facility, the Central Intelligence was waiting with additional data, comprehensive technical specifications for reality anchors, manufacturing requirements for constructing defensive networks, deployment timelines showing how long it would take to protect various numbers of Republic systems, and projected casualty rates under different scenarios ranging from full deployment with maximum redundancy to no deployment and complete vulnerability. We've provided everything you need to verify our claims and make informed decisions, the Central Intelligence said. You can return to Coruscant, present this data to your Senate and Jedi Council, and debate how to respond. But we need to establish timeline for your decision-making. The cascade approaches regardless of whether your democracy reaches consensus quickly or slowly. We recommend beginning defensive network construction within 2 years maximum, which requires your Senate authorizing cooperation and resource allocation significantly faster than Republic democratic processes typically operate. You're asking us to rush decisions that will fundamentally alter our civilization, Padme said. So we're asking you to make decisions at speeds appropriate to the threat timeline rather than speeds comfortable for your political culture, the Central Intelligence corrected. Your democracy evolved to handle problems that developed over decades or centuries. The cascade arrives in decades and kills within seconds of unprotected exposure. Your governance model must adapt to threat characteristics, or your civilization dies arguing about adaptation protocols. The delegation prepared to depart Earth, their ships loaded with data that would occupy Republic scientists for years, their minds burdened with knowledge that would haunt them forever. They'd come seeking to understand a mysterious transmission and found a civilization that challenged everything the Republic represented. They'd witnessed technological superiority that made galactic civilization look primitive. They'd seen evidence of approaching catastrophe that could destroy billions of lives. And they'd learned that salvation required compromises they weren't certain the Republic should accept, even if the alternative was extinction. As their ships entered hyperspace for the long journey back to Coruscant, the Obi-Wan watched Earth shrink into the distance and felt profound unease that had nothing to do with lacking Force connection. They were returning to Republic space carrying news that would divide the galaxy. Accept Earth's help and surrender democratic sovereignty, or maintain independence and face approaching disaster with inadequate defenses. Either choice would change the Republic forever, and neither guaranteed survival. The delegation has witnessed Earth's power and confronted the price of protection. Accepting defensive technology requires surrendering autonomy to AI coordination that makes democracy obsolete. In Episode 6, they will return to Coruscant and present Earth's warnings to the Galactic Senate, sparking the greatest political crisis since the Clone Wars. Senators will divide between those who see Earth as salvation and those who see them as threat more dangerous than the Cascade itself. The Jedi Council will debate whether mysticism that can be technologically disrupted is worth preserving. And across Republic space, the question will spread: what is freedom worth when extinction is the alternative? The debate begins.